What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got a few Destiny 2 things to talk about, including the return of Osiris in the future. We've got a whole bunch of updates regarding Crimson Days, a new patch and some server maintenance, as well as some updates about the new Prestige raid mode that Bungie are implementing, and a few other bits, so let's get into it. Firstly, if you guys do want to save 10% on any Control Freak products, including their Destiny 2 thumbsticks or any of the other thumbsticks in the lineup, their new braided cables, controller grips or anything like that, like I said, you can save 10% by using code Houndish, and the link will be in the description below, so check it out if you're interested. Getting into the new stuff though, Eververse, who actually acted Osiris in Destiny 2, did do an interview with GamesFragger recently. They speak about the role of Osiris and how it fits into the game and what it was like to play that character. But interestingly, in reference to Osiris, they ask Odid, what is next for you? And he says there is one project that I'm working on. They've asked us not to say anything about it at the moment. It's not a voiceover, it's a TV project. I think they are planning on bringing Osiris back, and I'm excited to come back for it. So pretty interesting statement. Of course, he says that they're planning on bringing Osiris back into the game, but immediately before that, he talks about a new project, which isn't a voiceover, an actual TV project. And it's not entirely clear whether this is in reference to Osiris or not. It kind of looks like it is, but we don't know if this quote is verbatim. On the front of a TV project, you know, it could always be something like a live action trailer or something like that. But of course, they have done the Osiris comics and indicated that there are, you know, different ways to kind of deliver Destiny's story, so we'll have to wait and see if that could potentially be a thing. But it's also possible that Osiris could return in a future expansion, and it's especially likely that that could happen in, you know, a big September release or something like that. If you think back to the Taken King, they used a whole bunch of characters from throughout Destiny, so it's pretty likely that Osiris is going to feature into something somewhere again at some point. You have to let me know what you guys think below, but I will also link the interview in the description. Moving on though, Bungie have some updates and bits of information here about the game. There will actually be a hotfix to some of the Lost Sector throttles that have been put in place. So one of the Bungie devs posted in the 1.1.2 update, we've fixed an underlying issue that caused the Lost Sector chest exploit. Players can now only open the boss chest once after killing a Lost Sector boss, as was originally intended. The chest may still respawn if you leave and return rapidly, but you won't be able to open it again. You'll get the code required prompt unless the boss also respawns and you defeat them again. We've also completely removed the reward Throttle from the Lost Sectors as it's no longer necessary, and we agree it was a poor player experience. We want to acknowledge all of the interest that we've seen from players in us expanding the Lost Sector system. We agree and are currently looking into ways to do that. So that Lost Sector Throttle, all of that stuff is going to be gone, and this will happen on Tuesday, and this is when we'll also get a patch and some maintenance. So this will be February 13th, starting at 8 AM Pacific, which is 4 PM in the UK. The Destiny 2 servers will go offline for maintenance, and that'll be up until 12 PM Pacific, and at the end of this maintenance, the hotfix will become available. Crimson Days will also go live, and they give us some vital information about Crimson Days. So welcome to Crimson Days waypoint. Under some circumstances, players may not receive a waypoint leading them to the tower vendors for the Welcome to Crimson Days milestone. Players may still complete the steps by simply speaking to the tower vendor listed in the milestone. So if you don't actually get any waypoints, just pay attention to what the milestone says. They also talk about Crucible tokens in the loot stream, so upon completion of a Crimson Days Crucible match, post-game rewards may push Crucible tokens out of view in the player's loot stream. Players should always receive Crucible tokens upon Crimson Days match completion and may find them in their consumables inventory. So I'm guessing that's because there's going to be, you know, a relatively large pool of potential drops that you could get from these matches. And if we actually look at the kind of pool of loot that they show us in the image for Crimson Days, a lot of this stuff will be able to drop in Crucible matches. So hopefully we'll be seeing plenty of drops to make it, you know, relatively interesting, but just bear in mind those pointers about Crimson Days. Another thing to mention on this subject, somebody asked Cosmo, is the Burning Shrine map staying in rotation? And Cosmo said, yes, the Burnout will go into rotation on the other playlists after Crimson Days ends. So just like we've seen in the past, Burnout will become, you know, a regular PvP map. People have asked me what I think about, you know, seeing returning maps like this in the game. Personally, when it comes with an update like this, which is essentially a free update or is, you know, kind of factored into the DLC, I don't think it's too bad of an issue. Of course, you know, when DLC actually launches, I'd prefer not to see that many returning things, but on the subject of exotics and maps, it makes sense to me to use them to drop in the quiet times between big content drops. I do agree though that paid content should avoid seeing reskins and things brought back from D1 as part of, you know, said paid DLC. Another thing worth confirming, somebody asked Cosmo, can you purchase Crimson Engrams from Tess Eververse? And he said you cannot purchase Crimson Engrams with silver, Tess will have some things in exchange for bright dust. So just bear that in mind, the engrams will come exclusively from milestones, and the loot generally will come from activities that you play, with the exception of a few items that will be available for bright dust, but not silver. So just worth bearing that in mind. But we heard about a new prestige mode that Bungie are working on for raids in Season 3. If you missed that news, I do have a video about it, but essentially they want to try a curated loadout mode. One of the examples they gave was a modifier called Marksman. Precision damage is increased, landing a precision shot grants 1 ammo directly to the magazine, and the required loadout is a kinetic hand cannon, energy scout rifle, and linear fusion rifle. So obviously pretty interesting idea. There are definitely going to be some challenges centered around that, especially how hard some of this stuff is going to be, you know, using a sidearm, for example, to try and kill a boss. But Joe Blackburn tweeted about this. He said, "I've got a lot of questions. If it wasn't super clear, the current plan of record is 1 prestige raid activity per week." And Cosmo confirmed that the loadout mode will take the place of prestige mode, so there wouldn't be, you know, a normal prestige style mode like we're used to. It will be completely replaced by this loadout mode, which is definitely going to have some mixed response. And Cosmo did say he'll let the team know that you'd rather have just the loadout mode added in and then keep all of the 3 prestige modes as well. And Joe Blackburn also said feedback on prestige loadout availability is heard loud and clear, lots of tricky water to navigate, and the team is still iterating on the system, so while you won't get any concrete commitments, know your voice is being represented. And there has been a lot of feedback on this subject, you know, losing a typical prestige mode and it being replaced by this. To be honest, I kind of like the prestige mode setup that we currently have, but I'm certainly open to them trying things like what they've mentioned here. It is also worth adding that Cosmo pointed out individual weapons that they select in the curated loadouts will only ever be quest rewards, so they are things that you can grab from a specific activity. So that's certainly pretty logical. But as I mentioned before, the sandbox side of this is going to be very, very important. I really hope that all of the kind of requirements and possibilities are really well play tested and thought out in terms of whether they're going to do this and keep the current style of prestige mode that we have, you know, which would also mean adding 1 to Eater of Worlds and the following raid lair. I kind of just can't see them having this many different variants and modes, you know? It feels like this is an attempt to tackle both the prestige and the challenge modes for raids all at the same time. But that is just, you know, kind of my impression of it from what we're seeing. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait for more information. But another big issue here is the loot side of it, you know? We need lots of exclusive, powerful, important rewards that make people actually want to play through these types of content. That's one of the issues that it doesn't feel Bungie are truly getting to kind of navigate through yet. We're seeing, you know, small improvements across the board, but I think there are much bigger questions about weapons, weapon perks, armor, and how important this stuff is in the long term. And that's going to have to be a very big focus of everything that Bungie are doing going forward. But of course, it's early days. We'll hear more about that later on. You'll have to let me know what you guys think as well. With us hearing about Nightfall specific style loot, these emblems and things like that, people have been asking, is strike specific loot still going to be a thing? And Cosmo did say it's still on the table for a future update, so just bear that in mind if you wanted to know. Definitely a lot of updates and bits of information in this video, but hopefully what we've covered will be useful for you guys. Now I just wanted to mention a couple of random things. So JB3 actually posted a video to his YouTube channel, which is pretty cool. It shows him glitching out of the map on Widow's Court in the European Dead Zone in Destiny 1. Of course, Widow's Court is a PvP map. It's just kind of interesting to get a view of the map, you know, with it being in a kind of earlier version of the European Dead Zone, because EDZ was actually something they developed many, many years ago, very early in Destiny's development cycle. It was one of the early locations that they actually had before D1 even shipped, but they couldn't actually get EDZ into the game because of processor requirements and things like that. So just a random little tidbit of information, but JB3 actually found a random kind of disco floor out of the map right here, which is pretty interesting. It's not solid or anything like that. I guess perhaps it's some kind of placeholder that they use in their world builder for certain things maybe, but it's just kind of random that there is this multicolored floor out of the map on Widow's Court. Of course, pretty random, but I thought some of you guys might be interested. That is going to sum up the bulk of this video though. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, especially on the potential return of Osiris and what kind of TV stuff that could mean, if that's what it actually refers to. Also, let me know your thoughts on this prestige mode kind of replacing the current prestige mode for raids and any of the Crimson Day stuff. But if you have enjoyed the video, guys, a like is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. For now though, I very much appreciate you watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.